Good morning, friends. Some friends over than others. Welcome. My name is Tim Dooner. I have the honor and privilege of serving as pastor of the Community of Faith, Dallas Presbyterian Church. On their behalf, I welcome you all. As we are gathered together with grateful hearts amidst our grief, to give thanks to God for the life and the witness of Albert and Ikeda, for the promises of life eternal that bring hope to the grieving. As we give thanks to God this morning, we do so safely given the realities of the pandemic. I want to thank you all for your grace and abiding by the guidelines that are before us so that we can stay safe. For that, rain morning. One so very safe. In lieu of singing our hymns, we're going to all be invited to prayer to reflect on their words as they speak to us in spirit. And at the conclusion of the service, would be so kind as to take care of all of the things that you want to throw away on your way out. There is a restroom just outside of these doors if anyone needs. Yes, please just wipe down the service if you've got to go there. Thank you for this grace, understanding, cooperation here gathered in this way. This service of worship, of giving thanks, does include times when all are invited to participate. By spoken responses, unison readings, those are marked by bold letters, and by reflecting prayerfully together. And I'd like you all to know that you are invited but not obligated to participate. If you are not compelled to speak or to pray, please feel free to refrain without a sense of guilt. That said, I invite you all to open yourselves to the words that are spoken and sung today, and to pay attention to how they speak to your spirit in this place of grief and hopefulness, where this life and the next seem to overlap and mysterious and holy. That said, friends, let us now call ourselves to worship. Our call to worship is from Psalm 143. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Give ear to our supplications in your faithfulness. Answer us in your righteousness. Teach us to do your will, for you are our God. Let your good spirit lead us on a level path. For your name's sake, O Lord, preserve our lives. As you are so compelled, won't you please join me in the attitude of prayer as we open ourselves to the abiding presence of God. Eternal and gracious God, creator and sustainer of all peoples and nations and times. Look kindly upon this people in their grief for the life of Albert Bunji Ikeda, so recently taken from them. Gather the pain of this people into your peace. Heal them through their memories. Be present to them in their grieving. And help them to move beyond their deaths. Awaken gratitude for your gifts of love and tenderness. And as we are able to receive them, teach us the lessons of life that can be learned in death. This we pray in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen. At a time like this, family and friends gather to do two very important things. The first is the physical process of mourning, crying the tears, calling into focus Al's life, hugging and embracing those you are permitted to hug and embrace safely, remembering his words, his attitude, his action, telling stories of how his life shaped and inspired your home. And the second is spiritual reflection. To open our hearts and spirits to a larger picture. To consider a reality that life is bigger and more finite, bigger and more than our finite flesh and blood existence. Because at this time of remembering and celebrating the life of someone we love, someone who loved us, we find peace and hope in trusting that there is more to our existence, there's more to Al than just this one finite flesh and blood season of being. To help us discover understanding and consolation and hope at a time like this, we turn to the witness of the Scriptures and we listen for what is affirmed as eternally true and good. So at this time, I'd like to invite Craig to come forward and offer our first two scripture readings.
Good morning. The first scripture is from Proverbs 2, 6 through 11, and it's from the New Living Translation. For the Lord grants wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the paths of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, trust, and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you. Wise choices will over you. Understanding will keep you safe. And the second reading is from John, chapter 14, verses 1 through 6, again from the New Living Translation. And this is Jesus speaking to his disciples. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. And you know the way to where I am going. No, we don't know, Lord. We have no idea where we are going. So how can we know the way? Jesus told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except.
So, fair warning, this is the first time this preacher's been in the pulpit in months. Are the seats comfortable? Thank you, Craig. Thanks be to God for the truth and the beauty of His words. When we consider that timeless affirmation from the Proverbs regarding the nature of this life in which we are all born into and then live in relationship with the Creator God, the Lord of all, we give thanks for how these words shared by Craig affirm the goodness of Al's life. Lived in the context of this ever-present relationship to and with the God of all. In Al's autobiography that was shared with me by the family, one of the first statements he made was, "I consider my life somewhat ordinary, except for my early life." He also wrote on more than one occasion about how he felt as though others around him were better or more devout people of faith. And with all due respect to Al, I have to disagree. So much of Al's life story was written upon the foundation of acute depression that he endured as a child following the bombing of Pearl Harbor. In Al's own words, we became the victims of wartime hysteria. Something like after the World Trade Center in New York, except a lot worse. I can't know how this hysteria and internment and violence was followed by a lifetime of systemic opposition and prejudice against Al as a Japanese American. And yet we remember this amazing, gentle spirit. We remember that smile that brought such light to the room. We remember the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding. We remember the pleasantness of his soul. All of which were affirmed in those proverbs as characteristic of a life well lived in relationship with God and others. It's a life that contributes to God's will of justice, prudence, and equity. Jesus taught that we are to turn the other cheek in forgiving love, to set down anger and retaliation. He invited his followers to love their enemies and pray for those who persecute them. According to Jesus, there was no greater sign of godliness than to be a person of love, forgiveness, and prayer in response to antagonism, opposition, and willful indifference. Al's entire life, not just the early years, his entire life, was a witness to this, the key characteristic of Christianity. And therefore, we celebrate this extraordinary life. A life of faith that was better and more devout than he gave himself credit for. You, Al's kin and closest friends, you are those who know just how deeply this is true. You are those who have the honor of living in such close relationships with him, who have countless stories that reveal the wisdom, the knowledge, and the pleasantness of his soul. Tell those stories today and forevermore, so that this good witness of Al's life reverberates through the generations and continues to shape the world by God's inspiration into a place of justice and equity and peace. When we consider the promise made by Jesus, shared by Craig, regarding this transition from this life to the next that we all inevitably face, we can't help but be turned in our spirits to gratefulness unto God. When considering the reality of death at the end of this season, Jesus' first words are, "Don't let your hearts be troubled." It is a sad day indeed for Aiko, for family, for friends. There is something deep in us that just wants to reach out to and embrace. But there, amidst those tears and the sadness, there is no reason to trouble hearts as we grieve, as we consider Al's standing before God in eternity. We grieve while holding deep within us that a place within the next chapter of our being is prepared and ready for Him. As we heard Greg share, from that part of John's Gospel, if this may have been the verse right after Greg finished, verse 7. Jesus says that if we know Him, we know God. If you know me, you know the Father, He said. We can know Jesus from the accounts of the Gospels. We can know that He welcomed, He healed, He loved unconditionally. He was the person of the
That's English. I don't understand it.
And so we can know that God's
Here. Oh, how'd you get it? Peter sent a link because obviously other people had problems.
Hello, Zoomers, we can hear you. Maybe there's a way to mute that. Or,
Sherry, you know your Harold's on here too talking. Unmute yourself.
Jesus says, you know me, you know God. In Jesus' time, and maybe still today, the people used to worry whether or not the good outweighed bad in their life, how to fit the scale of eternity, making God welcome them into the next life. But by Jesus' witness, we know He says that is the way. That is the truth. That isn't how life works. There's a place for everyone in the next chapter of eternity, and Jesus wanted everyone to know they didn't have to earn it. It's prepared for us in love. All we have to do is be welcomed by God's hospitality. We don't get there by any way of our own doing it. Today we give thanks that Al's place was prepared. In Paul's letter to the Corinthians, he offered this promise of resurrection and new life. He wrote, I'll tell you a mystery. We will not die, but we will all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. This perishable body must put on imperishability, and this mortal body must put on immortality. And when this perishable body puts on imperishability, and this mortal body puts on immortality, then the saying that is written is fulfilled. Death is swallowed up in victory. Where is Steve? As we gather here today, we must remember that what we experience as death is not truly a death, but a triumphant transformation and entry into the life that is next, within the unfolding of eternity. Death is never victorious. In the rhythms of God's eternity, life always springs forth. Even though Al has died, he lives. As Paul affirmed, it's a mystery. We don't know the mechanics of how we live. We know that while our finite bodies of this life are perishable, our very being is not. It is safe within the arms of God now and forever. In Paul's letter to the Thessalonians, he wrote, we don't want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, on those who have died, so that you may not grieve as others have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, God will bring with him those who have died. We are not those who grieve with troubled hearts and without hope. We grieve today and in the days ahead, while holding on to our hope that our life extends beyond this transition from death into eternity. Maybe you can just sense deep within your being that is forever. The idea of life on the other side of the death resonates with the truths and rhythms of the truth. Mass and energy never dissipate, but take on new forms. As an engineer now, I would appreciate that. Fall to the ground. And from that death, amazing new growth comes. New life always springs forth. It's a mystery, but we don't perish, we change. Even though Al has died, he lives, and it's a beautiful promise. And so while you are weeping at the loss of a husband, father, grandfather, uncle, great uncle, brother, friend, beloved tenor from the choir, and sibling in faith, remember that we are not those who grieve without them. Even as we weep, we celebrate. We grieve with joy and gratitude, for Al is now waiting for us all in the glory of God. I invite us all now, as our hearts are stirred in faith, as you are compelled, to affirm this hope and faith we have together by speaking the words of the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, crucified, dead, and buried. He descended into hell. The third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth on the right hand of God, the Father. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Ghost, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. Our celebration of Al's life now continues by calling to life those words and images and stories of its goodness and its faithfulness. There's going to be a video of Al himself as he was interviewed by Emily, I believe. There's a little bit of buzz on Al's microphone, so just listen for the witness of those words underneath a little bit of noise. And then there will be some family that are prepared to share first. And after they share, anyone can call to share a brief word of thanks to God or a story highlighting the goodness of Al's life, a legacy, or impact, if invited to do so. And then Kevin will close this time together. I would ask that in keeping with our spirit of precaution, that those who speak within this pulpit over here are invited to please avoid touching the microphone and as many surfaces as you're able, and to wait for the person sharing before you to be seated so that you are not crossing paths. And now we'll hear from Al. Sure.
Just a few words before the video plays. Jichon was a man of God, a husband, a grandfather, a captain in the Army Corps of Engineers, a dancer, a teacher, a bird watcher, and a squirrel hunter, a deep thinker, a Japanese American. At age 5, he lived a lot of life and had an amazing treasure trove of stories, some stunningly tragic, others incredibly inspiring. So many of our elders have important life lessons for us, but what's particularly special about Jichon is his life will be forever knitted together with history books. His legacy will continue to impact not only his direct descendants, but American children everywhere. In high school, I picked Jichon to interview for a school project about his time in Japanese internment camps during World War II. What was supposed to be a 30-minute recording, I guess unsurprisingly turned into 4 hours of non-stop taped conversation. In fact, that's why you'll hear the buzzing referenced underneath some clips, some of the sound bites in the audio, because that's when the batteries were dying. Of course, I was a high schooler, a novice at the time, and did not continuously check the battery life on the microphone. I've always planned to interview Jichon again in a professional capacity and together tour the Seabrook Educational and Cultural Center, which spotlights the internment camps. But alas, not enough time. Loved ones' deaths always seem to come too soon, but thank God for their stories that will continue shaping our lives even when they're no longer next to us on this earth. Here's a short version of our interview from 2011.
I'm Bunji Ikeda, and I'm third generation Japanese American. My grandfather came to this country, 1896. He came to look for jobs in this country because he was a samurai, but because he was a samurai, he was asked to go to a military college in Tokyo. And the school was called Rikukun Shikan Gakko. And that's the West Point of Japan. So after finishing college, he became a professor, and he was an instructor in the military college. And he may have taught people like Admiral Yamamoto, who was in Pearl Harbor, and General Tojo in Japan. So he may have been their instructors. But the reason he came to this country is because while he was an instructor, one of his superior officers came into his classroom from the back and noticed that one of his students was falling asleep in class. And so I guess they were pretty strict in the military back then. And to wake up the student, the senior officer gave the student a karate chop across the temple, and he killed him. And so it became quite an uproar in the military academy. But my grandfather refused to. He told the truth, told it like it was. And his superior officers didn't like that. And so he got in bad with the superior officers, and that was one of the reasons why he came to this country. My father bought his first car, not his first car, a brand new Super Buick. That's the car that my mother had taken to church one day. And he's going to pick my father up. I was in the car. And, the radio was on. And this is around 10 o'clock in the morning. And we hear the word Pearl Harbor were bombed by Japan. And at that time, my mother panicked. And she ran into the church and told the congregation that Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. That was a really bad time. And discrimination, discrimination-wise, I really, as a kid, I didn't feel the discrimination. But when we got into a convoy, like my dad was going to the city, from the farm, city of Salinas, and we were going down Route 101, which is the main drag that goes from San Francisco to LA. Well, we got on that road, and we got into the middle of a convoy, army convoy, trucks, okay? And here we are in the middle, and as we're driving down, I guess they realized we were Asians or Japanese, and the truck driver ran us and drove us into the ditch. I'll never forget that. And as the truck went by, all the guys in the back of the truck were laughing at us. In 1941 is when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. And under Executive Franklin D. Roosevelt put out an executive order forcing all Japanese Americans, citizens or non-citizens, into internment camps. Barracks, army-like barracks, tar paper, black tar paper, and the sun shining down. So in the room, it was hot. It was dusty and hot. And then we had these canvas cars, bulldog cars. Was a very, very, very big plus for we Japanese Americans. Anyway, while in camp, I'm going to get back to camp. There was a soldier that came up to me. I was whittling wood, probably carving on an airplane, rocking an airplane. And there's nobody else but me. Anyway, he comes down, I see him comes down, and he's in full uniform. And he comes up to me, he talks to me. I went, God, I'll never forget that. Because he says, I went to God. Well, my parents are the ones who should be angry, but they were never angry. They just say that anyway, what were we looking?
Those from the family who are prepared to share? Floor is yours.
So I'm going to be reading something on behalf of Beth Ikeda, one of his her granddaughters. She really wanted to be with us here today. She's battling some of her own health concerns, so she asked me to share this with you all. When I think of Jichon, I think of baseball hats, fishing, that brown leather chair, his house slippers, and his laugh. I remember all the family vacations we took in their brown RV or to Disney World, and his giant blue duffel bag full of video equipment that he lugged with him around everywhere. I remember him attending all of my band concerts, color guard performances, graduations, and dancing at my wedding. Jichon always supported me ever since I was born. He was the one who drove my mom to the hospital when she was in labor with me. Jichon enjoyed my independent spirit and would always recount the story of my learning to walk and never looking back. But he also modeled for me the importance of family through his family pictures, videos, gatherings, and stories. His memory, as we just saw, was incredible. We called him the family historian for a reason. I loved hearing him tell the story about how the Ikedas immigrated to America. I know Jichon worked hard all his life to provide a better life with more opportunities for his family, and I'm forever grateful for his dedication. I know he was proud of me, but because of Jichon, I'm proud to be an Ikeda. I pray our generation and future Ikedas continue to pass along Jichon's legacy of integrity, diligence, and family. Again, that was from Beth Ikeda, or Beth Palmer
Again. So I'm going to read a eulogy on Bunji from Mas Miyazaki, who was Dad's best man at his wedding. Our deepest heartfelt condolences to Eiko, the family, relatives, and significant others in the tragic passing and loss of our beloved companion and precious, amiable friend, Bunji. We had an awesome, happy, and honorable privilege to know him as a selfless friend for over 70 years, and will miss him immensely. Bunji was an outstanding Christian, a devoted husband, caring father, and valuable friend, prosperous professional and provider with unshakable, unconditional love and care. He left us with a proud and measurable legacy, which is a profound, magnificent measure of a man with incredible talents and honorable achievements, with many contributions to society. Bunji is now absent from the body and present with the Lord. And for him it is not the end, but a new beginning to live a perfect, peaceful, glorified, eternal life with God. Let us now move forward and be empowered with Bunji's binding love and precious memory of him in our hearts, in the temporal life, with the power and help of the Holy Spirit, until we'll all be together again at our glorious destiny with the Lord. With the love and grace of God, Mas, Nico, and Miyazaki. So while I'm up here, I'm going to say a few of my own words, and forgive me, it's a little bit long, but I hope you need a little grace. So it is only half over, but when you look back, what will you remember about the year 2020? I think it's safe to say COVID-19 will be a big part of those memories. How some of you lost a loved one or two or more to the pandemic. Others will remember 2020 as the year when WFH, work from home, became the new normal. Or 2020 was the year of the mask. Or the year you had to self-quarantine because you got pregnant with your first child. Or 2020 was the year when you had such great plans. Plans to celebrate graduation, or take a great trip, or get married. And how disappointed you felt when those plans were completely disrupted by, well, you know. To me, I will remember 2020 as a year when God turned what could have been disappointment into something intimate and special. When God turned sorrow into not regret, but joy. So with that in mind, I'd like to give you my perspective on that last week that Dad was alive. Amidst the COVID restrictions, my daughter Cam, and now son-in-law Christian, got married June 19th, just a little less than 3 weeks ago. The wedding was not what they had planned for. Actually, it was almost completely different, except for a few family members and Pastor Jim attending. But it turned out to be much more exceptional and poignant than what they had dreamed of. A small, intimate ceremony in Christian's parents' yard, which included Mom and Dad, who, at the last moment, were released from Shenandoah to attend the wedding. How truly special it was to have Dad there at the wedding of his granddaughter, just 2 days prior to his stroke. That day of his stroke was like a blur. But to make a long story short, 4 a.m. phone call. Your dad is in Einstein Hospital. Excessive bleeding in the brain. I talked to Mom and Brother Kev. Dad's wishes were no heroic measures to revive. Doctor says, not good. We decided to put him on palliative care. Due to COVID-19, the hospital policy was that only one person, that was me, was allowed in the hospital room with Dad. If I left the room, I could not come back. Fumio, my dad's brother, told me that hearing is the last thing to go when you're dying. So talk to him. He can hear you. My friend Jo relayed a story of her daughter, who was on a ventilator, unconscious, and completely unresponsive. Despite showing very few signs of life, Jo talked to her daughter continuously while at her bedside, sharing Jesus with her. As it turns out, her daughter recovered and said later that she could hear everything Jane was saying. Well, that was enough encouragement for me to do the same with Dad, particularly those first few nights in the hospital. I told him how much I appreciated him, how he was always there for me, and exemplified what it means to be a dad who is engaged and involved with his kids. I reminded him that when I was wrestling in high school, he went to all my matches. I distinctly recall hearing his voice cheering for me above everyone else's in the stands. Although that would have embarrassed my daughters if he did that to them, it was truly a great encouragement to me. How I became a Philadelphia Eagles fan because of him. He had season tickets for a few years. I cherish the memory of when he and I went to the 1980 Eagles championship game versus Dallas. I still remember the entire vet stadium rising to their feet when Montgomery broke through the hole for that 42-yard touchdown. I read scripture to him and prayed with him, and maybe even shed a tear or two. I must have said, "I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad," dozens of times. We sang old hymns like Amazing Grace and How Great Thou Art. I imagine Dad singing along with me. Many family members reached out with love and support. Fumio, Dad's brother, who lives in Las Vegas, called by FaceTime. I remember when he saw Dad for the first time after the stroke and realized the gravity of the situation. He wept. It was a poignant moment. But in typical Fumio fashion, he quipped, "Ha! Bunji sleeps with his head back and mouth wide open, just like me." I remember when Dad first heard Fumio's voice, his eyes actually flickered open. Well, against the advice of many family members, Fumio decided to fly east from Las Vegas, knowing that he would not get to see Dad face to face because of the COVID. Just to be near him, just to get near Dad. I wondered if Dad would last another day or two for him to arrive. Not only did he make it for that call from the hotel room, but he was actually sent home so Fumio could see Dad face to face. What a blessing. His grandchildren called. Emily and Jan and Beth, I know, called Mom many, many times. Peter recorded a song and I played it for Dad. He loved it, I could tell. I read the poems and well wishes to Dad shared by text messages from many family members each night. It was special. But the first 2 nights were long. Dad would go through long periods of time making a rattling sound. It was as if he was trying to clear his throat, but could not. The nurse Bill worked very hard to adjust his medication, clear up the fluid. After many hours, the medication finally took effect and Dad rested peacefully. He lay with his head back, breathing through his mouth, which was constantly open. I remember feeling it my duty to use that green sponge, you know, the one that looks like a lollipop. I would dip it in the water, squeeze it out, and wet his cheeks and his tongue, which was bone dry. Dad hung on. It was as if he was waiting for someone, for something. I'm not sure what. Dad always liked maps. He studied maps, not the Google kind, the kind that was made of paper and folded up the size of an envelope. We had a file cabinet growing up filled with maps of all the towns and cities near and far. Dad would study those maps with a magnifying glass. He liked to know where he was going. He took pride in never getting lost. And I must say, I don't remember a time when he ever did. Mom, on the other hand, well, she gets lost going around the block. But why did Dad hang on? Why did he hang on so long? I kept wondering. Did he want to make sure Mom would not get lost without him being there? Did he want to make sure she was taken care of? Mom spent some special time with him Friday morning that he died, sharing with him that she'd be okay. Is that why he hung on? Perhaps, yes. Did he want to make sure he saw his only remaining sibling, Fumio, not just on the phone in a hotel room real close, but face to face? Perhaps, yes. Did he hold on for the entire Lee family to visit and show love and support? I think yes. Did he wait to walk through the sorrow, the pain and resentment of the internment camps through many, many prayers? Perhaps, yes. Did he hang on to see his son, Kevin and Connie, arrive from Branson, Missouri, face to face? Perhaps, yes. And did he need to hear the words of Jesus that I read earlier? Now I'm proud of paraphrasing. Don't let your heart be troubled. Trust in me. When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. And you know the way to where I am going. But remember, there is no map. I am the map. Follow me. I think yes, is waiting for that. But mostly, I do know that surrounded by his wife of 60 years, his 2 sons and their wives, and with 2 of his grandchildren on the phone, there was an indescribable peace and joy when he took his last breath. Because he knew that today, June 26th, he was with Jesus in paradise. Amen.
Are there others from the family who would like to share? Okay. If anyone else would like to share a word, the pulpit is open.
I'm Craig Brother. Charles Kettering once said, every father should remember one day his son will follow his example, not his advice. I don't know if Al knew that quote, but clearly, in the wonderful tribute that Lemley put together, it was certainly the way he did his life. The first time I met Al, or Mr. Ikeda, as we called him, it was at the Little League fields when I was about 10 or 11 years old. He was hitting a ball, having Craig and Kevin chasing after it. And he would just rip that thing, make them run. And between hits, he'd sit there and he's talking baseball to me and my friends. Well, some of my friends' dads and my friends had an attitude that seemed to be do as I say, not as I do. I would never have asked that of Greg or Kevin. He lived his life as his own man, with Ego by his side. You can be proud. With the kind of dad you had. The husband you had. Grandfather you had. And the friend we all have. I know that this he looks down upon all of us from heaven but continue to be proud of the family, yeah.
I'll make one final invitation for anyone else to share before we let Kevin.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you especially Pastor Ted and I, Board Presbyterian, for opening up for us to honor Dad. Dad's been so gracious. Appreciate it. Lord, help me get through this. So, my grandparents, Dad's parents, had a business opportunity back in Salinas, California, where they grew up. And Dad was always regretting the fact that they missed out on that business opportunity. But had they taken that business opportunity that would move the family from Seabrook, New Jersey, back to Salinas, California, Dad would not have met Mom, and Frank and I would be here, let alone getting here at that. So what was once regret turned into gratitude. Isn't it amazing how distance increases perspective? So for all of you who are older than we honor your distance and the perspective you bring to life. Dad devoted most of his 41-year career to making things that went up in space. The Nimbus weather satellites, the space shuttle, the Hubble telescope. So Nimbus and the space shuttle programs are no more, and the Hubble telescope is about to be replaced. But Dad's legacy is not in the things he produced from his life. It's in the people that he touched along the way. Dad's memoirs of his career, he didn't talk anything about what he produced from his life. He had this long list of people to thank for their influence on his career, and the manifestation of his gratitude was to pass that along to others that he knows. And I think Craig and I and our children are living that out. So thank you, Dad, for that role model. There's a photo of Dad catching, I don't know, what is it, about 43-inch striped bass. And you know what? Dad never talked about the fish. Dad would always talk about the trip. And this was the people that he was with that he enjoyed. Well, later on in life, Dad was celebrating a 4-inch bluegill because he was teaching his children and his grandchildren how to fish. And the smile, I think, was just as big on that word. Dad tells the story you heard about, being insured as a Japanese American. Right? Mom's family, Dad's family. And this particular story about being run off the road by a U.S. Army convoy truck. And, slamming into the side of their car and driving into a ditch. And how his dad, had to hitchhike in his town and get a ride back, transport his family the rest of the way. But Dad, years later, would actually serve in that same army. That's the way it was. But Dad carried the wounds of that internment his entire adult life. Dad had pain that manifested in all kinds of ways. He would have lacrosse balls for his back pain. He would have these contractions for his neck pain. But Jesus said, it says in Revelation 21, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor cry. There shall be no more pain. It's such a joy to think about our dad with no pain, because he lived with pain his whole life. He never got that boat he always wanted, but he sent his kids to college. He never lived in the biggest house, but wherever he was always invited. He never drove the fanciest cars, but he always took us on great adventures. Greater love there's no one than this, than to lay down his life for his friends. So thank you, Dad, for loving us so much.
Just an observation, you two brothers are awfully comfortable in that pulpit. Thank you for preaching today. As we give thanks to Brother Evelyn. Thank you for bringing the word to the Church of Mountain. At this time, I want to invite Peter to come forward. He's going to sing. And please know he's at a safe distance. But more importantly, please know that the location from which Peter offers this offering of song is Bunji's seat in the choir. So Peter, be careful. That seat has a way of lulling its occupant into a blissful rest.
You'll see the family resemblance then, because I sleep just like he does. Sorry. So, Ji-chan, real quick, I'm Peter, by the way, I'm Ji-chan's only grandson. He would always recall this story when I was born, he said, or saw me. My mouth was just going. And I don't think it's ever stopped. But I'm happy to share this for him today. Apparently, this is one of his favorite songs that he sang in the shower all the time. So for you, Ji-chan, I use my mouth today.
Friends, now all are invited to participate in our prayer community that's pretty important. We open ourselves to the loving and abiding presence of God among us. Lord, you have promised, as Kevin has proclaimed today, that as all things are made new, pain and death will be no more. We claim this for Al today and for ourselves in the unfolding. Lord, you have promised that as all things are made new, you will dwell with us. We claim this for Al, and we pray that we might know your presence as we want from you. Lord, you have promised that as all things are made new, you will wipe away the tears from our eyes. We claim this promise for Al as he's walking joyfully across this threshold, and pray for your help in leading us from our tearfulness into places of restored joy and peace. Lord, comfort us in our sorrows of the death hour. Let faith be our consolation and joy, and eternal life our hope and expectation. Please now join me in the Lord's Prayer as we know. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive the debtor. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For that is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Again, in lieu of singing, we're going to prayerfully reflect on this hymn as it's played, the old rugged cross. And in case you hadn't noticed, there is a particular old rugged cross here on the chancel today that was imagined, designed, engineered, constructed by Bunji. Complete with a set of instructions, thanks be to Bunji and to God. And last night, as an observer, it was a really holy moment to watch his kin take the pieces of this cross down from its hiding place up behind the balcony. And with Bunji's guidance, to piece it together and to hold it up. And so we thank God for the ways that the fruits of Bunji's labor call forth our focus upon the loving grace of God, shown no more clearly than in the love of Jesus as he surrendered his life for his friends. So, gentlemen, thank you for carrying on the tradition, and I look forward to the holy moment of watching you put it away. May God bless us now in our reflection. Stephen, in offering his gift of music, will conclude this portion of our services of Thanksgiving to God. After he has shared, the funeral directors will come and help us begin our procession and our movement toward the cemetery, during which Brandon will make his offering. As you exit, one final invitation, caution, there is a bottle of hand sanitizer just outside the store in the restroom there when the wife washed her hands. Thank you, Steve. Please. Dan and friends, do you have any direct reports?
Yes. First, I thank you for the hospitality of the church and the sentiments. Folks, you are all invited to join with us in the session. I think we made a choice, but Al Bunji will be laid to rest with military honors at Deerfield Presbyterian Cemetery immediately following. The family will be accompanying us to the graveside. Also, there will be a reception in the church, the Deerfield Presbyterian Church Christian Education Building, which is located adjacent to the cemetery. The family will be hosting lunch in there following the graveside. All are welcome, and we certainly thank you for your participation today, both in music and sport.